Hey everybody, Ash and Sybe here for the Triple S League with another special stats guide for Fallout 76, and this time we're looking at Luck, the L in Special, the last one, and one of the most interesting ones, and there's a lot of interesting perks you can grab with this, but before we jump into that, is there anything you want to say specifically about the Luck build, Sybe?
Luck is pretty important this time around. In a lot of the previous Fallout games, all it really factored into was a handful of random stuff, and then it factored into some loot and some conversation pieces here and there, and your crit roll, basically. So in this one, it still affects the crit roll and how quickly you build up the crit. So if you're going for a heavy VATS build, then you'll definitely want to get as much luck as you can. However, some of these abilities in here are so good that you definitely want to have at least a little bit. So we'll cover those ones. First of all, I'll specify with the Scounger and the Farmer form, I thought these would be really good picks early on because then you'd always be getting more ammo, more chems. But these cards are a little deceptive. At first you think, oh, you're just getting a straight up chance to find more stuff. Actually, what you get is you get a second search button when you're mousing over top of whichever container that you're looking at. And you press that second button, which is not the same as the first button to just loot it, to search it again.
What, really?
This is really buggy. Yeah, this is super buggy.
So I've had Pharma slotted in. I had no idea. So I've been getting no benefit from that at all.
You've been getting no benefit from it at all. This is really bizarre and kind of dumb, frankly. It's
so
one of the many.
The same with the Can Do card here.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is really weird. It's a bizarre way of doing it. A lot of people didn't notice it straight off the bat. So, again, with these cards, basically, like you get them early on, and if you haven't put any points in luck, maybe you're stuck with using one of these. It's not something I would recommend that you get. Serendipity is way better. Definitely highly recommended. It's like a 45% chance to avoid basically like getting killed when you're really low health. This is really handy to have. I highly recommend this card. It's easy to get. You pop 3 points into it. If you want to replace it later with starch jeans, then you can definitely do that. But Serendipity, definitely worth it at a low level, and definitely worth it at a high level, especially when you're fighting big nasties.
Okay, so looking at some of these other ones here, good with salt. It makes food in your inventory spoil more slowly, so you don't want your food going bad. You can grab this one.
This might be handy for some people, but it's not great, especially when you have to like rank it up to 3 points. Maybe as a filler card going up, but not the greatest. Junk Shield, on the other hand, is probably pretty decent. You do have to be carrying at least some junk. And as far as we can figure out, this means actual junk. It does not mean like scrap down components. This is literal junk. So you have to pick up a fan and carry that fan with you all the time. 30 damage resistance. It's as good as a decent piece of armor, kind of mid-level. Not the greatest, but definitely helps if you're stacking, and if you're not really going deep down into the luck tree, then it's definitely handy to hold on to.
You do have to make that sacrifice to your carry weight, though, of carrying the junk. And the way it's worded here, it sounds like the more junk you carry, like it says here, carry junk to gain up to 30 damage and energy resistance.
The more you're carrying, the better. And it's one of these things where it's like, yeah, you probably always have junk on you. It's definitely something to maybe keep your eye on if you want to be a little bit more tanky. It's not as good end game because, end game, you're not necessarily always going to be running around picking up junk all the time. But yeah, definitely interesting. About as interesting as the next card, which is Mystery Meat. And I have been dying to try this one out, but I just have not gotten the card yet. I'm very interested in how much food this gives you, what the bonuses are, if there's any like cooking that you can do with it. This is one of these ones where it's highly fascinating to me. Sim packs generate edible meat. This is very interesting because, eating bits of yourself to heal yourself.
I get a really weird mental picture when I read this one.
Luck of the Draw is a really interesting card, and if you are constantly having to repair your weapon, this is definitely worth an investment.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to grab this one. I'm
Yeah,
doing a sniper build, and I've gotten to the point where I'm carrying 2 rifles with me because one of them's always breaking.
I definitely recommend getting this if you're always having issues with that. So this is definitely something to keep your eye on. Cap Collector is good if you are teaming this one up with that the card in the Charisma tree that lets you find cap stashes. Being able to find way more bottle caps and increasing your cap. This seems to be worth it if you're really looking at getting caps. And I'm like level, I'm just below 30 right now, and I have like less than 300 caps to my name because I'm always buying stuff, but I'm pretty broke most of the time. So again, this might actually be worth it. And I saw a recipe today that was like 1,500 caps. So if you put 3 points into this, probably really worth it actually.
Woodchucker, collect twice as much when harvesting wood. That's a pretty basic one, but now wood is pretty plentiful. Unless you're building a ton of stuff, I don't see you needing this one really. Curator, the benefits of bobbleheads and magazines last twice as long, so if you really like those temporary buffs that you get from the bobbleheads and magazines, you might want to grab this one if you're using them quite a lot.
And you can really like stack up the buffs on these things a lot, so it's something to keep in mind. The next one, Psychopath, which is just my favorite one. Every kill has a 5 to 15% chance to refill your critical meter. This is a way that you can actually like kind of cheat the luck gain. You can go in with 3 luck, this card, and every time you get a kill in VATS, you're gonna have basically a free crit. You can really chain the crit kills with this in VATS, but again, only really useful if you're using it. If you're not using VATS, then this is basically useless. The next one, Dry Nurse, 50% chance to keep your stim pack when you revive another player. Good in team play, pretty much no other use. At level 24, you got Lucky Break, slight chance for your equipped armor to repair itself when you get struck. If you are a tank and you're putting yourself out there and you're dragging the attention and trying to get the enemies to hit on you instead of hitting on your teammates, this is really good. Combine this with a couple of the power armor mods, and you're going to find that you're going to be basically always in good shape in the field. At level 26, we get the Mysterious Stranger. Mysterious Stranger appears so much in VETS, he knows you by name. Top rank and up the lower ranks, he just will occasionally appear. This is at least one NPC that's in the game, and some people say, and there's some really cool theories out there, that this is the same guy through all of the games. This is a kind of a cool thing is if you're spamming VATS. It basically gives you like a companion in the game that does significant damage. So this is definitely interesting. Last Laugh, if you're into like melee PvP and you've gone the explosive route with like grenades and giving them bonuses to the damage, this is probably one of the best cards you can have. It's only one, and you drop a live grenade when you go down. And if you happen to I was looking at some of the higher end grenades. I got that one. I got the mirror grenade, and goodness sake, some of the damage on those things is really high, and the AOE is really high. And when you go down in a melee fight and you suddenly pop this out, and it is a massive explosion, I mean, that could be the team win. And we do know, or we do have a kind of an indication that team mode PvP matches are coming. They were definitely in the planning stage. Whether or not they've been canceled, we will see in the future. But this potentially is going to be a really, really awesome card. Next one at 29, we've got 4-Leaf Clover. This is, again, another great combination one for crit and VAT usage. Each hit in VATS has a chance to refill your meter. You put this up to full. Again, very similar to Psychopath in the sense that I think if you have this and Psychopath, pretty much like every time you get a shot in, you're going to have a crit. So you can just go from crit to crit to crit to crit to crit to crit. Next one is probably one of my must-haves, pretty much everybody's must-have, Starched Jeans. You will never remove the mutation that you have through Radaway. Some of these mutations are so good that you're definitely going to want to buy them, and you're going to want to stack it with some of the other charisma cards that make the mutations better and make their negative sides lessened. And once you get this one, I mean, at the very least, grab this and grab Speed Demon. At the very least, definitely keep 2 points by the time you're 30 for this card. Probably rank this up by the time you hit 31. The next one we got is one of my favorite ones for this build and for heavy weapon build. This thing with a chain weapon or a minigun weapon is going to be huge. This is one gun army. Heavy guns have a 12% chance to stagger and a 12% chance to cripple a limb at max stars. It goes from 4 to 8 to 12. It's over 10% chance per hit, and you're firing a minigun that's firing hundreds of rounds. This is going to keep your enemies pegged down, pinned down, and if this works on bosses, this is going to be really, 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 really good. So definitely highly, highly recommended for this one. Next one, 33, is Grim Reaper's Sprint. And this is any kill in VATS has a chance, goes from 15 to 25 to 35% chance to restore all of your action points. Again, if you're utilizing VATS in this way, this is a monster of a card. You're going to be able to just keep farming out the crits. Obviously, not really that great in a boss fight when you're fighting a big heavy boss, but definitely good when you're fighting a ton of little things all at once, or a ton of smaller enemies on top of like a bigger boss. This is definitely something that's huge. Storm Chaser at 35 is going to give you health regeneration when it's raining or when you're in a rad storm. I haven't encountered a radiation storm yet, and I've only encountered like 3 or 4 rainstorms yet. So
yeah, it seems like there's other health regen cards that might help you more than this one. Tormentor next. Your rifle attacks have a chance of crippling a limb, 5, 10, or 15%, depending on how high you rank this up.
This is really good for snipers and also for just like regular rifle users. Definitely can keep somebody pinned down with this.
And Ricochet next at level 38. You gain a percentage chance to deflect back some of your enemy's ranged damage, up to 18% chance to deflect back some of the damage.
And sadly, no PvP. This was going to be my like troll PvP build, but turns out that it's not active in PvP. So,
and it says some of their range damage. It doesn't say how much. So it's hard to say based on this how effective this card will be. But Quick Hands next. You gain an up to an 18% chance to instantly reload when your clip is empty. So this is good for a few different builds.
This is God mode for anything that has a long reload timer and fires devastating hits. So shotguns, black powder weapons, and like anything that's a big heavy weapon as well. Now it's a small chance; it's only 18% chance.
But that's almost 1 in 5 shots. So if you're using a Fat Man,
getting a double Fat Man, or in those rare instances where you get a triple or quadruple Fat Man fire off in a row, I mean that's going to win you a PvP match right there.
Okay, so Bloody Mess next at level 42. So you have it's basically seems like this is just bonus damage, but it also has the classic follow Bloody Mess. Your enemies may explode into a gory red paste.
It is a solid damage bonus. If you happen to have an extra 3 points and you're not currently using any other card, really recommend this for the baseline 15% damage bonus.
Critical Savvy next. Critical hits now only consume a percentage of your critical meter. It doesn't consume the whole thing. If you rank this up to level 3, it only consumes 55% of your critical meter, which means refilling that crit bar is going to take much less time.
We'll quickly talk about Critical Banker, which is not necessarily confirmed as of yet. Again, this is still early. This is still just after the beta is finished. Between this and the other critical VAT things that we've talked about, you can build a solid build where you're just specializing in VATS critical hits. And you take this, you combine this with the Critical Banker, you combine this with better criticals, you're going to be able to spam high damage, super critical hits, one after the other, and in this case, you're going to be able to bank them. Luck builds can be really, really strong. It's a little janky to use the crit system in the VATS, but if you can really get used to using it and focusing in on it, this is quite possibly going to be a steamroll build, because you're going to be able to just do 6 or 7 crits in a row, non-stop, sometimes getting them to instantly refill your crit bar, and just keep on doing that immense high damage, capping out with that crit damage from better criticals too.
And so this is better huge. Criticals here. We should mention this one. Your crits do up to plus 40% damage. So doing a high luck, high agility build sounds like it could be a very powerful build. Indeed, if you're planning to use VATS a lot. Yeah.
You also have Class Freak, which is going to remove negative effects of mutations by up to 75%. There's one that gives you 6 intelligence, but at a cost of 3 strength and 3 endurance. I would imagine that this is going to knock those costs down to 1 endurance and 1 strength. I think that's a pretty decent trade-off. I think that's a very good trade-off for getting 6 points. Definitely something that can potentially make your character much, much better. So at the very least, you might seriously want to look at this and having the starch genes and putting those two together. At least you're looking at a baseline of 5 for your luck, and then depending on what other things you're doing, you might even want to combine that even higher. Last 2 cards here. The Mysterious Savior is going to occasionally appear and revive you. Not sure how well this is going to work in PvP. Not sure if there's how much of a time delay on this. We haven't seen this in action yet. It's definitely interesting from a lore perspective that they've added this as well. So
this is potentially a very good one if you play solo a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting if you're off wandering by yourself and you get downed by something.
Or if you're like somebody today who definitely wasn't me, who wasn't wearing their power armor for some stupid reason and accidentally walked off a cliff while looking at a menu. Definitely would have been handy there, because that was really annoying to go all the way back there and get all my stuff. I mean, to get all their stuff. And the last card, when crafting, there's a 30% chance that you'll get double results. I am really curious if this factors into weapon crafting, and if this is going to potentially give us a 30% chance to get a weapon that is better, or
does it give you 2 of them?
Utilizing this, do you get 2 of them, or like when you're crafting like food and stuff, obviously you can just double up what you're getting there, and that makes sense. But what happens when you're doing armor, and what happens when you're doing weapons, and what happens when you're doing mods? Would it be better to just sit there and craft piles and piles of armor looking for the best outcome? This is really interesting. We don't know this one yet. When you get close to endgame, think about grabbing this one and see if you can put that to the test. If you're interested in crafting, that is. If you're not interested in crafting, then don't worry about this card, because it's not going to affect you.
All right, so that is the luck skill tree in Fallout 76, and we've been using the You Are Special character build planner as per usual. This is a great tool for helping you plan your build. And we also have 6 other videos. If you haven't seen them yet, we have one for each of the special stats. So definitely check those out if you haven't seen them yet. Please hit that like button if you appreciate this content, and subscribe to catch all of our Fallout 76 content that's coming in the future. Thanks so much for watching. We will talk to you later. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, sub, and hit that notification bell, and then check out some of these other videos. Find the link to our Discord server and other important stuff in the description below.
Rotated.